Okay, year three. Right, welcome back to the second task of our writing this week. We're still focusing on the clock tower and we're still focusing on our description. So if you've done task one, you will have written the opening of your story, okay? And you will have focused on your adverbial phrases. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at adding even more description to our setting, okay? Because a lovely setting description is really important in a story because it allows your reader to visualize where they are. And if your reader has a really good image, really good picture in their head of where we are, they're going to have a much better understanding of what is happening in your story. Okay, so we are going to have a look using our senses at describing this picture even more, okay? And we're going to focus on these three things. So what can you see, what can you hear, and what might you smell if you're walking through this village, okay? And while doing that, we're going to also focus on these three literary techniques. So we're going to have a look at some alliteration, which I know you've done some work on with Mrs. Hall a couple of weeks ago, so you should be very good at that. We're going to have a look at using a simile, and we're going to have a look at using some conjunctions in our senses sentences. Okay, so first of all, what can you see? Now, again, there are lots and lots of things you can choose to see, but you also might want to add some things that you think you might be able to see in a village. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so I've got some things we can see. We can see the clouds, we can see the sky, we can see the balloons, we can see the houses, we can see the tower and the clock tower and the clock face, and we can see the hills that are rolling behind. Okay, lots and lots of things we can choose for our description. And because our focus for this sentence is alliteration, once you've thought about what can you see, you can try and come up with some words that use alliteration, so that start with the same letter. So for my clouds, I could describe them as calm or curly. Okay, for my sky, it could be sparkling and sunny. For my balloons, they can be bouncy and beautiful. Okay, you will notice for my alliteration, I've only focused on adjectives. Okay, but you can use alliteration for any types of words. So you could use verbs starting with the same letter, or you could use other nouns that are starting with the same letter. Okay, you're just trying to think of as many words that you can then add into your sentence that are using alliteration. Okay, and then down the bottom, I've written you a sentence that uses adjectives and verbs and an adverb, but all start with the same letter. So lots and lots of alliteration. The sky was full of curly clouds circling calmly over the quiet village. Okay, so I've got 4 words there, all start with the same letter, and they're all different types of words. So we've got curly as our adjective, circling our verb, and calmly our adverb. Okay, so you can use alliteration in lots and lots of different ways. Okay, so that's sentence 1. So what can you see? And using alliteration to show what you can see. Okay, sentence number 2. What might you be able to hear? Now, obviously, we're looking at a picture here. Okay, so we're not going to be able to hear anything there. You've got the video to go back to if you want that to help you as well. But this one's going to need a little bit more imagination. So if you were standing in this village, in this picture, what might you be able to hear? Okay, and I thought because it's a nice sunny day, you might be able to hear the birds singing because they're likely to be out in the sunshine. You might be able to hear the ticking of the clock tower because that's quite loud in the video. So you might be able to hear that. You might be able to hear the wind and the breeze. You might be able to hear the voices of the villagers who are moving about and starting their day. Or you might decide that this is before anyone else is awake, and actually all you can hear is the quiet and the calm of the village. So it's up to you what you think you might be able to hear. And then once you've decided on all of the things that you can hear, you are then going to try and create some similes that you could use in a sentence. Okay, now a simile is where you compare one thing to something else. Okay, and they will use either as or like. in their comparison. And the reason we use similes is because it gives our reader a better understanding of the description we're trying to show. Okay, it gives them something else to imagine, and it will give them a much clearer understanding. So the rule with a simile is it has to use as or it has to use like. Okay, that's the only rule. And you're comparing something to something else. Okay, so I could compare the fact that the birds are singing to how beautiful a lullaby is. So I could say the birds singing was as beautiful as a lullaby. Okay, so I've compared the birds singing to a lullaby. Or I could compare the breeze to a whisper. So the beautiful summer breeze was as soft as a whisper. Okay, so you're comparing one thing to something else. So my example sentence there, the birds circled the village, their songs as beautiful as a lullaby. So I've compared their singing to being as beautiful as a lullaby. So you can compare anything that you think you would be able to hear sitting in this village. Okay, so that's sentence 1 and sentence 2. And then sentence 3, what might you be able to smell? Now again, this is going to use a little bit of imagination. So you're going to imagine you are standing in this village. What might you be able to smell? Okay, so I've said you might be able to smell the summer breeze, because a summer wind has a different smell to a winter one. So it might be that you focus on that. It might be you are able to smell the grass and the sort of freshly mowed grass of the hills. You might be able to smell flowers. If you're in a village, you might be able to smell freshly baked bread from the bakery. It's up to you, but we're trying to think of sort of nice smells, because we're trying to give the image that this is a lovely place at the moment. All right, so try and think of nice things that you can smell. And then in this sentence, our focus is the use of conjunctions. Okay, so I've given you some examples of some conjunctions you could use. I'm sure you can think of some more that I haven't mentioned. All right, but some of the ones you could use: as, because, so, but, if, when. All right. And my example sentence, the wind was blowing across the distant hills, so the smell of grass filled the air. Okay, so I've used so there. All right, the smell of grass filled the air as the wind was blowing. All right, but I could use lots and lots of different conjunctions in my sentence. I could change that to the wind was blowing across the distant hills. When the wind blew, the smell of grass filled the air. Okay, so I could change it so that my conjunction was at the beginning. There are lots and lots of different ways that you can change your sentence. So once you've got a sentence, maybe as an extra challenge, have a go at moving it around and using a different conjunction, or putting your conjunction at the beginning. Does your sentence still work? Okay, so have a bit of a play around with that third sentence. See how imaginative you can be with it. So once you've done that, and once you've written your 3 sentences, you will have ended up with some lovely descriptions of your setting, hopefully using some alliteration, a simile, and a conjunction. Okay, and again, you will end up with a nice paragraph of description. So the sky was full of curly clouds circling calmly over the quiet village. The birds circled the village, their songs as beautiful as a lullaby. The wind was blowing across the distant hills, so the smell of grass filled the air. Okay, and again, once you look back at your paragraph, it might be that you notice that it needs to be edited slightly. Okay, because as you can see, with my 2 sentences, I've used circled twice. Okay, which I probably don't want to do. So we might change this sentence here to the birds flew across the sky, their songs as beautiful as a lullaby. Okay, so then it means that I've not used circled twice, so my paragraph sounds even better. So once you've got your paragraph, you might find that you want to change it slightly. And again, it's absolutely fine, because editing is a really important skill in our writing as well. Okay, so have a go at task 2, have a go at those sentences and trying to come up with those imaginative descriptions. And again, share them with your class teachers, share them on Twitter so that we can have a look at them. And I really look forward to seeing what you guys can come up with.